Morning, people. Welcome aboard. I'll get you up on the big screen. No, hold on a minute. That's it, mate. Good morning, Karen, Kirsty, David, Scott, Christine, Dave, Barbara. We also got Lorraine, Thomas, Robert, Geraldine, Stephen, John. Oh, it's moving hella fast. Ian, Jacqueline, Trisha, Ewan. Right, we're up there the hundreds, so let's get this broadcast underway, because apparently viewers out there don't like the pregnant pause while waiting the numbers climbing. So it's Indytruck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is mostly sunny and 13 degrees. Okay, so let's get this news review underway. This is the review of the weekend's news for July the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of, July. Right, Friday started with a mixed bag in the rags. Scotland's money reduced by 65 million to help make up a 1 billion aid package for Ukraine. The hidden pandemic, 13,000 kids have lost their parent to COVID-19. And of course, the Natalie McGarry story, former SNP jailed for 2 years for embezzlement. The other big story in the rags, Deputy Tory Whip resigns as Whip after getting drunk and groping people in the Tory Private Members Club, the Carlton Club, all right. And that was a Chris Pincher, which is quite apt considering he was groping people, pinching them. Right, moving on. Friday, and here in Scotland, the propaganda machine carries on with the attacks against the Scottish Public Services and alleged failings of the SNP/Game government. The Pravda have the Pravda's up the relentless Scotland shite stories, but it's not washing with the Scottish public. The other thing the Pravda did was try to avoid the subject of Scottish independence. It would appear the Pravda think all they have to do is ignore the subject and it'll go away. Right? But we're not getting back in our box, right? Now the Pravda and the cuckoos in the nest tell us Scots that they have made such a big mess of things that we can't leave right now because they can't afford to pay the rent if we don't stick around. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. David and I will do a wee special on it later. But the approach from the unionists this time seems to be, if you leave us, we can't pay the rent. That's no your problem. If they can't pay the bloody rent, they can't pay the rent. But what they're actually doing is preparing the people of England for the shock that's coming. But we'll get a wee bit more of that on Sunday, because there's an interesting article in the Times on Sunday, all right? Right, moving on. Friday, and the pro-union media is at it again. A Professor James Mitchell, whoever the hell he is, pens a piece in the Herald and appears on Borders Television to tell us there's no such thing as a de facto referendum. There are elections and referendums, and both are different. Professor Mitchell is wrong, of course. Elections have been used as de facto referendums before. In 1918, Sinn Féin used the Irish general election as a de facto referendum on Irish independence. And recently, in 2019, pro-democracy groups in Hong Kong used the council elections as a de facto referendum on democracy. So it would appear the unionists are running really, really scared at this point in time, and they're trying to delegitimise any route to independence. That comes back to bite them in the Pahookie on Sunday as well. All right, moving on. Friday, and unionist twit and BBC political editor Glenn Campbell he crosses the line again in an interview with the First Minister. Mr Campbell asked the First Minister who she thought she was, turning an election into a de facto referendum when elections are fought by other parties on different policy issues. Miss Sturgeon tells Glenn Campbell, but she was a wee bit taken aback with the question, but she tells Glenn Campbell that she doesn't want to turn the general election into a plebiscite election. That's Westminster's fault. If they just respect democracy and agree to a referendum, then there wouldn't be any need for it to be a plebiscite election. But no, Mr. Campbell's behaved across the line big time. I mean, what's interesting about it is the Tories in Scotland have ran on a single issue in several Scottish elections now. I mean, the only issue in the Tory party manifesto for the last 3 elections that Davy can think of was vote no. Vote Tory to stop the SNP from holding another independence referendum. And that's been right across the last 2 Scottish elections and the council elections. Vote no to stop independence. So, single policy issue on a manifesto is alright if it's the Tories, but it's not alright if it's the First Minister and the people of Scotland. Now, so the Pravda really is scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I don't know who this Professor Mitchell is. But he's obviously not a professor of politics if he didn't know that elections have been used as de facto referendums before. Spanner. So, it's really getting, they really are getting out of hand now. They're trying anything to delegitimise any route to independence. Right, so we've Dross. We won't participate in a pretended referendum if the Supreme Court says Scotland can hold one. And Andrew Kerr, BBC, telling us that telling us that the UN Charter on Human Rights doesn't apply to Scots. Wow! According to the BBC, according to the BBC's Andrew Kerr, the Scots are a subspecies, and the UN Charter on Human Rights doesn't apply to us. Wow. Mental. Anyway, as I say, absolutely nuts. Right, the final story I've picked out for Friday, more scandal connected to Bojo the Clown. It would appear that while Foreign Secretary Bojo the Clown tried to get his now wife and previous bit in the side, Carrie Simons, a job for 100,000 quid a year in the Foreign Office. It also comes to light that Carrie was caught giving Bojo a bow blow, or head to the rest of us. Right, the now Mrs. Johnson had Mr. Johnson in her mouth in his office at the Foreign Office, apparently. Right, there's a couple of people apparently who caught them at it. Gavin Williamson is one of them, apparently. He's the ex-education secretary down that road. And that would explain how the twat got his seat in the House of Lords. Catching Mrs. Johnson with Mr. Johnson's Johnson in her mouth and being told, keep your gum shut, we'll give you a knighthood. Anyway, number 10 denies this story. Guy. But let's move on to Saturday and the subjects I decided to talk about for Saturday, the stories I picked out on Saturday. Alright, so Saturday started with 2 main teams in the rags. Holiday chaos and PM under pressure over drunk groper MP Chris Pincher. Right, on the holiday chaos, it's down to problems at the passport office. The pressures in the passport office are down to a backlog created by the pandemic and new travel rules due to Brexit. Alright, now the pandemic and restrictions meant that no one was renewing passports because, well, let's face it, there was restricted travel. And Brexit becomes relative as the pandemic was considered over, as we know it's no. Alright, and people wanted to travel again, go on holiday. New rules meant that travelling in Europe, you had to have at least 6 months left on your passport, or you didn't get to travel into Europe. Alright, and as of next year, you will need a visa to travel to an EU nation. Now, the fee for the visa next year to get into a single EU nation will be £6 per country. Now, a summer road trip round the EU 27 next year will cost you an additional 126 quid in visas alone, never mind the time it takes to fill out the paperwork. So, and hope you get the bloody things. Oh, this Brexit malarkey's turning into a real wheeze, isn't it? On drunken groper, MP Chris Pincer. Senior Tories and opposition MPs call for him to be suspended or thrown out of the Tory party. He is also reported to the Common Standard Committee by another MP who witnessed events at the Tories' exclusive Carlton Club on Wednesday last week. Also, a Tory activist has come forward to allege that Mr. Pincher had been pinching his bottom too. Right, moving on. Saturday, and the Herald reports that NHS Scotland under pressure as COVID makes a comeback. There were 17,576 new cases in Scotland last week, and that's up 19% on the previous reporting week. There are now 1,298 people in hospital, and that's up 34% on the previous week as well, or up 330 people on the previous week. There are 16 people in intensive care with COVID, down 6% on the previous reporting period, and there were 51 deaths with COVID was mentioned on the birth certificate. UK-wide COVID cases are up by 30%, and 342 deaths were attributed to COVID UK-wide last week. All right. The Office for National Statistics say 1 in 18 people in Scotland are carrying the virus. That's 5.5% of the population, or roughly 290,000 people. So be careful out there, folks, especially if you have underlying health conditions. Follow the guidance. If you're in an enclosed public space like a supermarket or something like that, get your mask on and carry your hand gel about with you again. Okay. Right, moving on. Saturday, number 10 are denying the Bojo Carrie Simon sex story from when Bojo was Foreign Secretary. No surprise there then, eh? It's standard practice for Bojo. Deny, then add to the lie, then blame others, and hope the story goes away. But it's no gone. Bojo, wasn't me? We'll see what happens. Hey John, nice to see you in the comments there, mate. I hope you're enjoying yourself, wherever in the world you find yourself this morning. Right, also Saturday, it's reported that the criminal cabals a bent banker of a chancellor in the Exchequer is about to cut VAT in an attempt to alleviate the cost of living crisis. It'll help, but not a bloody lot, as they say. Right, also Saturday, the criminal cabal come up with a new wheeze, the 50-year mortgage plan. The plan is to create mortgages that cut the cost of housing as a monthly, on a monthly basis. And it also will allow people to buy better homes, apparently now. The idea is the mortgage gets passed on to your family to continue paying if you pass before the debt is paid. I have to say I've got no idea what this is all about. I do know it will kill the social housing market and possibly the private rental sector. So it will also limit social mobility and turn the population into slaves to the banks. Now, the idea that you would pay your mortgage over 50 years, making it more affordable, giving you a 50-year loan instead of the standard 25 loan, I don't know if this is a good idea or no, folks. But what I do know is that when I bought this place, it clamped my, well, it would have done if it was a big expensive place, it would have clamped my social mobility. But because I'm just renting the place out, I can still move about. But that will not happen if you're tied to a house for 50 years. You'll be tied to that area for 50 years. But the other thing that will do is nobody's going to rent social housing, or nobody's going to rent in the private rented sector if you've got a 50-year mortgage. So, and we did hear about the aid to the PM that you're supposed to have got pregnant and bashed off to Canada, but there's no proof in it, so it's only, So the idea of a 50-year mortgage, I don't know if it's a good or a bad idea, folks. I really don't. And the other thing is, if the debt is then passed on to your children, surely before you agree that mortgage, your children would need to be around and would need to be able to agree to take that debt after death. So that's another reason that the Tories are thinking about to try and become popular again. The 50-year mortgage, all right. And also, Saturday, Joanne Cherry calls for a Yes Party alliance if the next GE becomes a de facto referendum on independence. This comes as Starmer is set to ban any Labour deal with the SNP after the next general election. Polls says Labour will win the next general election, but not with a majority of MPs, meaning Starmer will need to form a weak minority government or form a coalition. Starmer's betting on the Fib Dems making a comeback in the 2024 election at the expense of the Tories. Now, Starmer, he knows that he's going to need to go into a coalition. But what's more interesting than that is that, Starmer's just killed off Labour in Scotland. Bang, deed in one go. Nobody is going to vote Labour in a general election if Starmer's not going to work with the Scottish National Party. Because the Scottish National Party here in Scotland is more left-wing than Labour. And we are a left-leaning social democracy. So Starmer, being the other cheek of the establishment arse, has just killed off Labour in Scotland altogether. What's funny about that was, anybody see that tweet from George Spokesman? He says Labour's turned the tide in Scotland because Anna Sarr was more popular than the First Minister. Nurse, we folks, he's off his meds again, and it would appear he's back on the bevy. Wow, George Folks and Anna's poverty pie star were being more popular than the First Minister. Absolutely mental. So there you go. A yes coalition apparently, if it becomes a plebiscite election, all right. Now, what's interesting about the plebiscite election thing is, we'll get to that on Sunday. Right, on Saturday, and the pound's taking a tank, and the UK's buying power is taking a pounding. Inflation's at 9.1% and rising, and it's now expected to rise to 13% or more. Currency traders no longer see the pound as a safe currency, and currency traders are dumping it onto the market. The Bank of England are working hard to prop up the pound by buying up what's on the market. All right. So the pound's in trouble, and we'll get a wee bit more of that today. All right. So moving on to Sunday the 3rd of July 2022. Sunday starts with a mixed bag in the rags. The fight for independence and tributes to a Scottish sporting giant in football terms, former Rangers and Scotland footballer Andy Gorham passes away at the age of 58 after a short battle with cancer. And as I said to you before, saying I know you, Andy, quite liked the guy. Used to go to his bistro in Lanark. Right, anyway, on the fight for Indy, reformers, whoever the hell they are, urged Nicola Sturgeon's opponents to come up with a blueprint for a better Britain. So here we go again. The abusive partner in the union saying once again, don't go, we'll change, while simultaneously telling us they won't let us go. And also, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Dominic Raab and others are actually describing Scotland as a colony at the moment. They're making it quite clear we can't leave the union because they need our assets to pay the bloody rent. I've already said that. So apparently for this time round, as we head towards an independence vote, whether it be a referendum or a plebiscite election, the unionist approach is to tell us, don't leave us, we're too skint to Davy's duty. Wow. Right. So the other thing we're being told, apparently by unionists, is that if we're going to vote yes, then we had better get on information and on a hunch. I'll give you a hunch. Listen up and you'll find out. Right, anyway, so apparently we have to date on information and a hunch. What the hell's a hunch for? I think we'll date on good information. Right, I'll help with a hunch. Sunday, and the Times is running a story that says the UK faces a currency crisis and bankruptcy. It then sticks the boot into Brexit by saying the criminal cabal have failed to take responsibility after taking back control. In other words, folks, it's time to exit and create our own central bank and currency. The pound is junk right now, and the world expects Scottish independence, and so Scotland will take her assets and the pound will crash. Alright, so that will explain why Mervyn King is out again over the weekend, or out again in the press to tell us that you can use the pound if you become independent, because they're desperate to keep the pound propped up by Scottish assets. So, there you go. They can keep it, but last time round we might be willing to have done that instead in the monetary union, but we'll no even control our currency to the Bank of England, which has already failed to keep the pound correctly afloat. And but when we get right down to it, this article in the Times saying that the economy's crashing because they failed to take back control, the currency's crashing because they failed to take control. It's all a crap. They're deliberately doing it, and you can bet your boots the elite down that road haven't they got their money stored in pounds, or it'll be in USD, US dollars, or the euro they'll have their money. It's only us, plebs, that have to suffer the loss of everything that the pound's worth. Another crash, plebs. Another crash, plebs pay. Another crash, plebs pay. Wow, mental. So I think we'll pass on Mr. King's idea that we should stay in a currency union with England. I think we'll float that new currency as quick as possible and get that central bank up and running as quick as possible. Because they quote Standard & Poor's, Scotland will have a AAA credit rating because Scotland is asset rich alone. At this point in time, our assets in the North Sea worth about 4 trillion quid. Never mind the onshore assets. Wow. So we'll give that a skip. Hey, also Sunday, latest polling suggests support for Indy is up, and the support for Indy is in front. All right, it's 48% yes in the latest poll, 47% no, 13% don't knows, 43% of Scots support the First Minister's timescale for Indy Rev 2, 44% don't. So basically, it's deadlocked all the way round. We're on 50-50 on the question of independence, and we're more or less 50-50 and all on when a referendum should take place. So I'm sure the pressure will mount on Westminster here. Because if I remember right, in 2017, the Tories said they would block a referendum for 5 years. So 5 years, 17 to 22, does that not make it 5 bloody years? Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And also Sunday, Kezia Dugdale, once leader of the Labour branch office in Scotland, an ex-MSP, and now at the alleged left-wing think tank, the John Smith Institute, or whatever the hell they call it. Anyway, she sticks her head above a parapet and says, listen, there will be Indy Rev 2. The reason why there'll be Indy Rev 2 is because in the last 6 months, there's been a 5 to 6% shift towards yes, and democracy must be seen to be done. So it would appear that Kezia Dugdale has shot Anna Sarwar on the back of her head by saying there has to be a referendum and a democracy must be served. So things are not really going that well for that mob down that road with the pressure that's mounting for Scotland to have its say. But I mean, some of the crap that we've had in the last couple of weeks, Andrew Kerr telling us that the Article 1 the UN Charter doesn't apply to Scots. Wow. Apparently we're some sort of subspecies. And then we've got Professor Mitchell telling us that we can't have a plebiscite election. We've got Westminster telling us we can't have a referendum. Jesus Christ, we've got Dominic Raab describing Scotland as a colony to be exploited for the good of England. Can you make this push up? Oh, and the Chancellor's getting shot by the Times on the fact that he's failed to take responsibility since Brexit. And of course we'll get Bojo under attack again. And it would appear that Lord Rothermere, who is a big man in Broadcasting here in the UK has told his Daily Fail to turn on Bojo. So things are going to get bad again. But hey, we know that. So, but let's finish off Sunday with a wee bit of comedy, will we? As I say, we drunken Lord folks, he thinks Sarwar is more popular in Scotland than the First Minister. So somebody send the nurse around to wee pishy pantsus, will you? And of course, the Herald on Sunday, just for a wee bit more comedy, sticks the boot into the pro-union side and quotes Margaret Thatcher, saying that's a problem for the pro-union side because Margaret Thatcher made it quite clear while she was Prime Minister. If Scots want independence, all they have to do is return the majority of MPs, pro-independence MPs to the House of Commons, and independence will be achieved. Now, we've done that twice already, but we didn't run on a manifesto we have our MPs dissolve a union. We bloody well next time. So, there you go. The unionist Maggie Thatcher comes back to haunt the Tories. You couldn't have made a better headline than that, could you? Right, so that's the stories I picked out to talk about over the weekend. I hope you found them interesting. I hope you found it informative. Let's move on to the rags and see what they've got to say this morning, eh? This ought to be funny. The Metro goes on, groping for answers. Johnson under pressure, our Chris Pincher, who's been pinching bums apparently. Right, the Daily Telegraph is PM facing cabinet backlash over Pincher. And unions will oppose increase in night fights. So, workers at BA who have voted for industrial action. Right, the Times has SNP accused of squandering cash in advert for botched census. Listen, any unionist who wants to try and blame the SNP for squandering cash is after chumps. I tell you, all you have to do is look at HS2 doing that road, look at Crossrail doing that road, look at the London sewers. You're talking about 10 million quid for an extra advertising to get people to fill the census out. Not a bloody lot. Well, we're talking about the billions that lot are pissing up against the wall. 9.5 billion wrote off to dodgy COVID loans. Well, with 10 billion sparked up against the wall in dodgy PPE. It's expected 127 billion in COVID loans will have to be written off as the economy contracts and all these companies go out of business. Jesus Christ. And a sex scandal revitalises rebel plot to topple MP. So apparently the Tories are going to try and topple with Bojo. He's not going anywhere, he's digging in. Right, the Eye has full blow to Johnson as new Pincher claims made. And apparently Labour's out in front. There you go. Right, the Scotsman has Harvey back Sturgeon's bid for de facto referendum at election. Of course he does. Wow. The Herald has Harvey Green's vote at election will be yes for independence. I didn't know the Greens were going to stand candidates, but there you go. The Looney Rag, the Daily Express has Greens put Indytruck before Planet. Furious Harvey throws party's weight behind secret Sturgeon plan. It's not a bloody secret. It was announced in the Scottish Parliament, for Christ's sake. See this lot is meant to be dragged in front of some sort of bloody court and sued for calling this piss journalism. Pro-independence party back independence. Wow. And the Greens put Indytruck before Planet. Woo! Mental. Wow, that's supposed to be journalism. Absolute mental. The National has time up on Indytruck 2 ban. The Tories said no vote for 5 years in 2017. I think I just said that, no. But they're still flying in the face of democracy, these SNPs Gibson. The other loony rag, the Scottish Daily Fail has morning after pill for girls aged just 12. Well, if girls aged 12 are going to have sex, then they're going to need something. But surely they shouldn't be having sex in the first place. Right. And the Daily Record has a shandy for Andy. And it's a tribute to the goalie. And let's have a look. See what the Stars go for us today. And the start today has 4 weeks swelter belter. Happy Scorch of July. So apparently it's going to be really warm this month. And happy Scorch of July, and it's a picture of a big fat geezer lying on a towel at a beach with one soak on and one soak off. I don't get the picture at all. But hey, apparently the weather's going to be good this month, folks. That's what the stars go for us today. Okie dokie. Right, that's what I've got for you today. Now, Caledon Media has got a crowdfunder going, folks. So if you've got a couple of shekels that you can throw in the pot to help Norrie keep it going, then please do. But let's go into the usual stuff. All right. The game's on, folks. The campaign has started. The mental cases in the unionist side and the cuckoos in the nest are going all out to try and delegitimise Scottish democracy, no matter how we go about it. All right, Gordon Ross has got some ideas that we should be making a deputation to the United Nations as a colony who wants to stop being exploited and have them run the referendum. It may well be an option at some point. Okie dokie. Right, so eyes on the prize, folks. No partisan politics in the pockets. Eyes on the prize. Learn your how you gonies. Get out there and win hearts and minds. The game's afoot. As I say, support the independent broadcasters, Broadcasting Scotland, Independence Live, Caledon Media. As I say, they've got a crowdfunder going. If you can help them out, please do. Independent vloggers and bloggers. Apparently, David and I are going to go live at 4 o'clock this afternoon for a special. I've only just found out about it myself, so we'll put the link up for YouTube. It'll be going out live on YouTube at 4 o'clock today. To Davy's special, apparently. All right. Now, as I say, support the independent media. And, of course, health messaging, folks. We're back to COVID being rife, and I mean rife. So follow the guidance that's left. Face coverings and enclosed public spaces. Clean hands and surfaces regularly. That's the remaining guidance, okay? Now, when it comes to social distancing, use your natter. If you've got the sniffles, mask up, social distance. All right? And if you're still testing, please submit your test results to NHS Scotland to help monitor how much of this is in the community. Right, folks, that's the first one of the week out the way. All right. So 4 o'clock this afternoon if you want to join in on YouTube for the two Davies, and I'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.